Welcome to the Backfire Ballistics Lab. Today, we're fighting back at some commenters because I always say you gotta bring the right cartridge to the party. Why are we hunting elk with a sissy little cartridge like a 6.5 Creedmoor unless you have to? But then what I hear is, the caliber doesn't matter, you just have to hit it in the right spot. Well, today, we're gonna see who's right. We brought a bullet, Hornady Precision Hunter for all of them. We're gonna shoot it into ballistics gel, but you and me, we don't get to know which bullet shot which ballistics gel. Garrett's gonna do the shooting, and then we're gonna see if we can guess. Does caliber matter?
All right, first up is drilled it.
So this is how we set it up. We set this with, bird seed in here filled up with water, like you're going through a little bit of paunch. Then this is some very thick plastic in here, like you're going through bone, and then the ballistics gel. What we're considering a kill is if you get at least a 2-inch wound within the first 4 inches of gel, after going through some animal where the vitals are, and then as much penetration as possible, at least a foot. I would consider that you killed whatever you shot. Well, it went through the paunch, went through bone. Oh, that is not good penetration though. I mean, we're putting these things through the ringer, right? I'm gonna be very surprised if this bullet goes all the way through. This is a Hornady ELDX on all of these, but only about 6 inches of penetration. However, there is a 2-inch wound there. And so, yeah, that results in a dead animal, but it's maybe not what we would hope to see. I'm going to reserve judgment on which cartridge this is until I can compare it to something, but I've got to think 243 here. Not good penetration, good ripping, not very deep though.
Looked up at my turret and I forgot that I had just taken a shot at 1,000 yards. So I was dialed up to 7.3 mils. You'll be off by a little bit if you're dialed that far off. Got it this time though.
Cannot argue with the results here. We got a full pass through of the block. The 2 inches wide kill zone is probably 6 inches after going through paunch and bone. And so, I mean, that is exactly what you would want. That animal is completely dead. There's no way. What cartridge is this one? I mean, it makes me feel much more confident that that first one was the 243. I could believe that this is a 300 Win Mag. I guess I'd probably be surprised if the Creedmoor did that well, but we'll have to compare it when we see the others.
Eviscerated.
This one seemed to get really solid performance. I mean, that is a dead animal in a tough situation, going through some simulated paunch and bone. And we're at 200 yards here on all these tests. Animal's dead, but we don't get nearly the penetration that we got on the other. So if I'm guessing that other one was either the 7 PRC or the 300 Win Mag, I'm thinking maybe we've stepped down here, that this is a 6.5 Creedmoor or a 270. I'm guessing 6.5. I'm guessing this is 6.5 Creedmoor. We'll see.
All right, next up.
This one seemed to perform mid in terms of total penetration. We're 3/4 of the way through the block. It's a dead animal. But up here, that first 6 inches just did not get that ripping and tearing and the giant hole like we saw on some of the others. The jacket seems to kind of stay together. This is a Hornady ELDX, and you certainly see little bits of lead everywhere there. But the thing the LDX does really well is it maintains one straight path. It's rare, in fact, only once in game, and this was on a bison, have I ever seen an ELDX that really deflected off its path. And that's really critical, because what you don't want is you're aiming at vitals, it hits a little bit of rib and woo, goes somewhere else, right? So we have a straight path, but not a whole lot of ripping and tearing. We just didn't get the expansion or the horizontal that I would want to see. I'm guessing maybe this is a 6.5 Creedmoor. Just doesn't look like as violent of a wound.
All right, last one. Bada boom, bada bing, baby. Knocked it down.
This is the last one. We're about to do the reveal to see if we're going to be totally embarrassed here on our guesses. This guy seems to do kind of that mid penetration, 3/4 of the way through. So I'm putting this on kind of the mid cartridges, maybe either the 270 or the 7 PRC on this one. It does appear that we had a pretty good amount of velocity because we got a pretty wide initial entry, but maybe a little bit less weight because it's pretty skinny thereafter. Maybe that smells like a 270 to me. I'm saying 270 on this one. In this video, we're shooting a bunch of guns in the field, but a lot of the video actually happens here in the gun room, and that's what I want to show you about because Otis has sponsored today's video. Otis makes a full suite of gun cleaning accessories. So one problem that we started seeing is just inconsistent results with our firearms. You know, we'd shoot great one time, then we'd take it out a couple more times, and the gun just wasn't shooting. And we realized that our cleaning routine was just garbage. And so if you want good accuracy, you can consistently make it clean, but you can't make it the same amount dirty every time. And so what we do when we get a rifle in is every time we're just gonna run through a few patches. Otis has a lifetime warranty on all their products. It's made in the United States. They have, you know, military defense contracts and stuff, a very trusted company. And so you can go on there and whatever firearm you have, you know, 22 pistol, you guys know you've got to clean your 22s or they're going to gum up real fast. You can get the pull-through handle and just run it through a few times after each time. And you're going to have firearms that run a lot better. At SHOT Show this year, we even highlighted they have a new product for cleaning suppressors that I thought was pretty cool. So I want you to check out Otis. They just whatever firearm you have, go on there and check it. They've got a kit for you so that you are making sure you're taking care of your pew. Testing is done. Now we get to see if you and I were correct in our guesses. So the first test was this one right here, and that has to be the 243. Wide expansion, but it just didn't penetrate, which to me says higher velocity, but just too light of a round, just didn't go very far. Feel very confident in that guess. The next one that I feel pretty confident in is that this was the 300 Win Mag. I mean, that is devastation everywhere and full penetration of the block. It's gotta be the 300 Win. This is where I question myself. I'm thinking this is the 6.5 Creedmoor because it's just like it got pretty good penetration, but I'm saying that's pretty low velocity. Just didn't have very wide of a death zone. And then I'm guessing this is a 270 because I'm guessing higher velocity because it has a wider channel here, but then it's a light bullet and it just kind of pencils thereafter. And my guess is this is the 7 PRC. This is where I'm unsure because it did not penetrate as much as what I think is the Creedmoor or 270, but there's just so many little bits of stuff everywhere there, and it's a wide channel all the way through that to me says a higher caliber bullet. How do we do, Garrett?
You're close. Number one, you're right. The first shot, 243. Number two, this one, was 7 PRC.
Oh, the 7 PRC penetrated the whole way. So what was the 300 Win? Was it this guy?
This one was 300 Win.
Okay, so I switched up the 300 Win and the 7 PRC.
Yep, and then you're right about this being the 6.5 Creed. And you're right about that being the 270.
Wow, okay, so, I mean, in as realistic of a nasty situation as we could contrive, you know, going through a little punch and bone in ballistics gel at 200 yards instead. Everybody always tests ballistics gel at like 30 yards. So in those kind of conditions, like, did the caliber matter? Well, yeah, I think it did. I mean, certainly between a 243 and the big guys, there's a massive, I mean, you're getting like 4 times the ripping and tearing. Also, you know, to me, that says something about a Creedmoor. Now, do I want that hole in me? No. But at the same time, if you were to, because it's so skinny, that 7 PRC, you know, may have touched twice the material because it's about the same length, but much, much wider. So, I mean, when you're talking about a tough animal like an elk, I don't know, I think it absolutely makes a difference. I'm not saying you can't kill something with a Creedmoor. Absolutely can. And sometimes when I'm hunting with my kids, my wife, something like that, you know, you go to the most that they possibly can. But yeah, there is an absolute difference. But there is one thing that I'm just torn on, is sometimes I'll say this. I'll say like, no, I think caliber matters. But then somebody says, okay, why don't we just use a copper bullet in a 6.5 Creedmoor? Because a copper bullet's going to stay together. You're going to get pretty much 100% weight retention, and it's going to drive deep because of it. Maybe the 6.5 Creedmoor with a copper bullet can do it, and so that's what we're going to test next, is 6.5 Creedmoor, same ballistics gel, but now a copper bullet. And let's see if it can stack up with the big boys. Crushed it.
Oh, dang.
I think we have an answer on, can you go down to a weaker cartridge and just swap for a copper bullet to get full penetration and call it good? I think no is probably the answer. So you see the orange path through there? That's because it went through the orange, you know, guts and bones tester thing that we had. You'll see that it is just skinny the whole way through. Now that's common for a copper bullet, because I mean, it's all staying together, and so there's just less of a wound cavity. Most people will tell you that when you shoot an animal with a copper bullet, it does take them a little bit longer to die in general, but you get full penetration, so they probably will. Now, I've had some bang flops as well with a copper bullet, but the nice thing is, if we can get this thing out, I mean, they look so perfect. But in terms of the answer, I think for a 6.5 Creedmoor with a copper, I think it can be a good idea. I mean, if you're hunting an elk, to make sure you get that penetration. Look at that, that's just beautiful. Almost 100% weight retention. What brand of bullet is this?
So Hornady CX.
Hornady CX. The problem is, now we're shooting something with a skinny path. It's a smaller caliber, and so it's not going to expand as much. You know, you get a bigger caliber, and they both expand. The bigger caliber is exponentially going to expand more. But you at least get the full penetration. So I don't think it's a panacea, but it could be something to help at least with the penetration. So to those of you that say cartridge does not matter, I just don't think that's true. I think it absolutely matters. Now, if the point is, does it matter more that you hit it in the vitals? Absolutely. And most of these probably would have been lethal kills anyway, some more effective than the others. So I still say bring the right tool for the job, but shoot something you can shoot accurately.